Hey, football fans, this is Mo with Mo Football for yet another episode where we'll be talking soccer, or for those of us, football. And today I have the pleasure to have Coach Ali Hanif, a assistant coach at Kansas State, and also a Manchester United fan. And very close tie to Manchester United. So it's going to be quite interesting. So how you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm a sad Manchester United fan right now. That's the best way of putting it.
Nice. Yeah, so that was the part that was interesting when I was doing my research. I'm like, I had no clue you were, from Britain and have that much connection. So and now the accent on top of that. So
Yeah.
um it's gonna be a fun one. So could you tell us a little bit about like, how you who is Coach Ali, from England and find your way to the good old States?
Yeah. So I'm from Old Trafford, from Manchester. So specifically where the stadium is located for Manchester United, which is also called Old Trafford. I'm from that area.
Okay.
Grew up there, born and raised, and got into football because of Manchester United because they obviously my local club. I wanted to go to games, and then got involved with the local program that they run in the community. That eventually got me into playing, then got me into coaching, and Manchester United was my first 10 years of my career was all with Manchester United, and I was very very grateful for everything they did for me as a club. My first job was working at the club, working in the foundation and working with the at the Cliff Training Ground and over at Carrington as well, and kind of developed my career there and got opportunities to come to the US, and then ended up in Kansas actually for the first time back in 2012, and fell in love with Kansas, fell in love with the Midwest, and then had some great times in St. Louis. Love some of the best food ever eaten is in St. Louis, and
Nice.
yeah, and then kind of developed my journey from there, going into working soccer camps for Challenger Sports, who one of the largest soccer camp companies in the US, and then went to coaching club, then coaching college, and then moving into college full time, and been kind of out of the Midwest for the last couple of years. Out on the West Coast at Cal State Bakersfield, and then at Arizona State University, and then the opportunity came around before Christmas to come and join the new staff at Kansas State, and an opportunity where my wife is from KC, so a chance for us to get back closer to home and come be part of a program that we're going to help develop into a program that's going to compete in the Big 12. So it was an opportunity that was too good to turn down.
Nice. So yeah, so it looks like you full circle, and I think it's a small world that two of us from Europe and then find ourselves
Yeah.
in the Midwest of all
hmm
places. You
hmm
married a Casey woman, and my wife from St. Louis, so
Oh, fantastic.
things are quite interesting. So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so bring you back to I think all the way back to Manchester United. Where I think you grew up in. Um, so did you always wanted to be a goalkeeper, or was there started from on the field, kicking the ball, and then all of a sudden want to be and it was there a player that kind of helped change that and mold you to a goalkeeper?
That's a really good question. So I started playing football, soccer, like really late. I started when I was 14. And actually because of a physical education teacher at my high school, Mr. Evans, who's still a teacher now, and he actually gave me some mittens and threw me in goal, and was like, "Hey, let's see what happens." And I wasn't scared of a ball, and kind of rolled into like really enjoying it and playing it. And um, Manchester United used to run free coaching sessions in the community every week at the park down the street from my house. So went to those sessions, started to develop as a goalkeeper, and got some really really good coaching, some really good opportunities, and kind of went from there. And Edwin van der Sar was always my idol. I was in a fortunate position where he was still at the club, so right when I was started playing, so I was able to watch him up close and personal, and I got to meet him a few times, talk to him a few times, and was in a unique position where I was around my idol more than most people would be. Again, very fortunate to be in that situation, and Van der Sar for me was for me, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And then alongside him, Iker Casillas when he was at Madrid, and with the Spanish national team was a big. I loved Iker Casillas. I think he was amazing, technically gifted, um, slightly undersized, as they say, but what a game changer of a goalkeeper he was. And then this one hurts me to say, but it's also the truth. Pepe Reina, when he was at Liverpool,
Okay.
was
Yeah.
the goalkeeper that made me want to dive as a goalkeeper.
Mhm.
Like watching him dive around in games was what made me want to dive around on the grass. Even though he was a Liverpool goalkeeper, and I'm nowhere near a Liverpool fan.
Mhm.
But he was the goalkeeper that made me go, wow, like I like what he's doing, and I want to do the same thing. So, kind of just flourished from there.
Nice. So just admitting, so that's good to know that at least it was a high school physio PE coach that kind of gets you into it. Yes, and new goalkeepers are a different breed of players. So you saying that kind of like to jump and dive, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I've all my playing days, I said if I was to take a certain player to war with me, it will be a
Mhm.
goalkeeper because
Yeah.
you probably dive towards the bullet. So makes total
Yeah.
sense. And growing
Mhm.
up, I guess to your idol, that certainly kind of it's not a bad way to grow up. It sounds like.
No, no, again, like, I reflect back on those years, and I was in such a fortunate, very unique situation to be in, that I was involved with my local club, and I was working for my local club, and, it just happened to be that my local club was one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and I was just, like, I'm very fortunate, and I had a lot of very good people within the club who saw potential in me, looked after me, gave me opportunities, um, made me work really hard, and gave me more opportunities, and I'm forever grateful for the time that I had there.
Okay, awesome. So yes,
Mhm.
did you always want it to be a coach, or was there a time or a pivot time that's kind of put you in that space?
Uh, um, I think I went through that age where, like everybody does, when you don't quite know what you want. When when you're 16, 17, and you're thinking about university, and you're thinking about next decisions and steps. And um, I was, I don't know, I don't think there was ever a place where I thought about doing something different. I'm sure my mom did. I'm sure my mom wanted me
I'm
to go and
sure
be a
they all
doctor.
did. Yeah.
That's all my mom always wanted was for me to be a doctor.
Okay.
Um, but football just kind of rolled into my life, literally and figuratively, and then also um, I became attached to it very quickly,
Okay.
and I saw that I enjoyed it. I worked hard, and I enjoyed that I worked hard at it, and it gave me opportunity after opportunity. And there were some crazy situations that I look back on, going, those were such normal things for me, but from the outside, they look like s- someone's wildest dreams. And like, again, perspective, right, and feeling lucky. But the amount of times I got to walk on the pitch at Old Trafford, in different roles, the amount of times I got to bump around with the players, and learn my coaching, through working with academy coaches, and working with the foundational coaches, and working with just been exposed to coaching at a very high level, was again a super unique situation. And then yeah, developed into, again, just been thrown in goal and putting some mittens on into now a nearly 17-year career, which has got no means of slowing down, and a lot more I still want to achieve. But it's just wild that it comes from those little unexpected moments.
Yes, and so also for now that you've seen quite a lot from England, the culture of
Mhm,
soccer, and then moving out to the US. So,
mhm.
could you tell us a little bit more, since you've seen, from grassroots all the way to now college, and you've also seen club? Could you tell us maybe a few things where people that don't have that environment on how we can kind of help the
Yeah,
future soccer players?
it's an interesting one. I feel like from when I first came to the US in 2012, um, the culture's developed a lot, the investments developed a lot. I feel like there's there's a lot more opportunity within the US to go and play soccer and play at a good level, to compete, opportunity to go and play college. College soccer is non-existent in England. Like there is soccer at the university level, but um it's not watched, it's not what's the word? It's not invested in, and
Yeah,
it's not seen as the next step. Um Versus here, it's seen as a step into the pro game, into national team, into all these other things. Back in England, that's just not the structure. So typically, if you're playing soccer in university and you're not playing at a club by that age, there isn't really a next step. And there have been a few cases where it has happened. There's been a couple of players that went to university and then were still playing a local league and then ended up playing in the EPL, but it's very rare. Versus here, it is a stepping stone into the pro game. So um, there's just a very big differences, and culturally, there's obviously differences. And I feel like soccer has got so much passion here and so much. Um, there is so much within the US soccer systems that gives opportunity and gives pathways for people within coaching, within refereeing, within playing, within coach education. That it's just so much bigger as well. Like it's starkly bigger. And I feel like in the US still there's still so much more ground to cover. There's still so many places that can still get exposed to the power of soccer, and obviously there's still a long way to go because the country is 10, 20,
humongous.
30, whatever times so much bigger than England. And we talk about Liverpool before, but like people sometimes people struggle to grasp the idea that like if you're in Manchester, there's one type of culture within and around football with Manchester United, with Manchester City, with Salford City, with all the other local, with Altrincham, with all the local clubs, Accrington, Stanley, and all these other clubs in the area. Versus you go 35 miles down the street to Liverpool, there's a whole nother culture, and you've got Liverpool and Everton, Liverpool ladies, Everton ladies, all those clubs in that area, and the cultures are two different things. Versus here, you're gonna have to go another, KC to St. Louis.
Yep.
You've got to go whatever that is, 200 miles before you see a big, change in culture. And that's just the difference in the size of the country and the way culture is perceived and how it gets integrated into the community. So yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, and you we probably could tell by the mileage that you cover all the time just to go see players play. So
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
and I always tell people where I grew up in France, it's like and I think now people are starting to see that Parc des Princes and where PSG plays
Yeah.
and Paris FC plays, the stadium is a few blocks from each other.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
always one of the fun part. So yeah, so what would you say is since you've seen a lot of soccer around this country here, um, and that you've seen like West Coast and Midwest
Hmm.
type of soccer. Is do you see a little bit of difference on how they see it on soccer on their side versus Midwest? And is there anything that kind of gets you excited to come back to the
I
Midwest?
don't, I think that's a difficult one. I don't see much of a difference. I think that there is starting to be a more uniformed approach towards soccer, and within what US soccer is doing as a governing body and with what the state associations are doing, there's more uniformity with what ODP does.
Yeah,
Um, there's more of a uniform in the style of player that you're looking for, but also um, players with common goals, because ultimately those players want to go and represent their countries and represent the US national team, the Canadian national team, the Mexican national team. Um, so not much of a difference. I just feel like sometimes the Midwest is known for being a blue collar area. Like, you've got the kid that's a super duper hard worker, a grinder, kid that's used to playing in the snow and the rain and the wind and all that stuff, and like that adds a little bit of a different element to you because you're used to those conditions. Versus the West Coast, obviously the weather's pretty consistent in terms of being sunny and being hot, etc. And same in Arizona. Um, there can be slight differences, but that doesn't mean that the Arizona kids and the West Coast kids don't work hard. They do,
yeah,
but just conditions are different. Like whether you're playing through the snow and the rain in the Midwest versus playing through 116 in Arizona, like they're still hard conditions. Both of them are, but they're just different. But yeah, not too much, not too many differences, more similarities, and it's enjoyable to see that there's more uniformity kind of building, and with what US soccer's doing and what United soccer coaches have been doing for a long time,
Yep.
and what ODP are doing. Um, People are getting on the same page, and ultimately that's going to benefit. In some ways it'll benefit the 2026 World Cup. In some ways it'll benefit the 2031 Women's World Cup in the US. And in the longer term, it will benefit those big tournaments and those players because people are coming from a similar place.
Yeah, those are some exciting
Hmm.
times.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
y- so what have you learned through your 16 years of coaching? You know, what have you learned when it comes to the how you started and where you are now? Is there a few things that you yourself have learned and you know plan of utilize on this season?
Yeah, I'll take a note out of my previous head coach I was on state, Graham. He says something that like sticks in my brain all the time. And he says happy players play better. And
Yeah,
I resonate that a ton. Like I've got a pretty bubbly personality, and I show every day that I enjoy my job because I do, and I'm
yeah,
fortunate to be in this position where I get to coach full time at the collegiate level. Um, I think that rubs off on players. I think that um, if you can, you're going to play hard. If you're happier, you're going to play harder. I think over the last 16 years, which makes me sound and feel really old.
not at all.
Yeah, that as a coach, I want to make sure I bring enjoyment to my environment, regardless of the level. Like whether it's working with, um, whether I'm working with, U7 players at my local club right now at Manhattan Surf, or if I'm working, with our 18, 19, 20, 21 year olds here at Kansas State, got to bring an enjoyable environment and an environment where players are going to trust you, where players are going to be open minded, where players are going to want to pour back in what they see their coaches, the people are pouring in as well. Um, I think the other big piece is remembering to to plan, and to make sure that I'm transparent as a coach. I think that's really important. So something I tell coaches all the time, like another great way of growing a player's soccer IQ is showing them what you're doing and how you're doing it, not just telling them what to do. So, for example, like I have a training session for my goalkeepers, and for my club goalkeepers, I will put my training session next to the goal before we start training. So I get my goalkeepers into the habit of, okay, the first thing you do when you get to training is you go over to the goal, you have a look at what coach has written down. Coach says we're going to do this bit, and this bit. This is the objective of the session today. We're gonna, for example, today we're going to do a crossing session. So we're going to improve our ability to deal with balls from wide areas. And even if the younger players don't quite understand the language, they'll start to connect words and they'll start to connect language with each other as we start talking. And it's not then the first time they hear it. And then they'll start to connect session design and how things look because they've seen it on paper and they see how it looks. And okay, now they connect it when it happens in real life in front of them. It's only going to grow their soccer IQ. And for my goalkeepers, I tell them all the time that I've got no secrets. Like I'm here to be as transparent to you. And if you understand why you're doing what you're doing and you're not just doing it because I told you, you're doing it, you understand why you're doing it, you will now be in a better place to understand when to apply those actions within the game because you know why and when.
Right.
And I think that's just another way of being able to show my players that also that there's thought and forethought into the training session. I'm not just magically thinking of it in my head, and that there's a rationale, there's a reason behind why we're doing the training session the way that we're doing it. Because you can only have players buy more into what you're doing if they feel like they're being explained to well, and they also understand that coach has been transparent with me. So I feel like that as a coach, my opinion is that that's going to help players buy more into what you're doing.
Nice.
So that's some of the things I've learned over the last 16 years um, as a coach.
Nice. So it sounds like that also kind of help the flow of the practices because now
Yeah,
you almost have to explain it once or twice versus a dozen times because they're still learning. So yeah. So I
yeah,
guess for any inspiring coaches, there's a nugget right there to know how to manage practices even better
yeah,
and
for sure.
keep the nice. So I think so. Jumping to your current season, so now back,
Mhm.
with Kansas State. So, how excited are you with the season? How do you see it going? I see that you're back on the road already to
Yeah.
travel. So, how it's like, Coach Ali's the next few months of the season.
No, it's super exciting. Like I think Colin and Corbin, our head coach, when we first chatted in December about the possibility of coming here, um, her vision for the program, um, for what she wants to do and what she wants from her coaching staff to do within the Big 12 conference and just for what we want to develop here within the program, that's exciting. And her passion resonated with me a ton. The same with Julie McClure, our associate head coach, and Elissa Post, our other assistant. Um, an opportunity to be surrounded by people that are all sharing the same vision, have the same or similar energy going towards um, this task that we have ahead of us was super exciting to, and the bonus being that my wife gets to be closer to her family in KC, and it was an exciting opportunity to take upon, and yeah, there's been a lot of growth and a lot of steps taken this spring, and with the team now, where I believe we're week 12, week 13 into the spring now, and the players are buying into what we're doing, what we've discussed, the standards that we've set, the expectations that we have. Um, we all come from programs that are used to winning. We all come from programs that are used to being in the NCAA tournament, programs that are used to making an impact, and ultimately that's what we want to do here. We want to help this program get to take its next steps and win more games in the Big 12 conference, push itself up the RPI rankings, put itself in a position where it continues to be a program that's going to attract players. We've got. I've told people a ton of times already, and I'll continue to say it. In my opinion, we've got one of the best facilities in the entire country, and not many people know about that. And not many people know, we've got arguably one of the best women's facilities in the entire country
Mhm.
across the spectrum. We're a program that is fortunate that doesn't have to share facilities with another sport, doesn't have to share facilities with a men's program. We have all the resources to push forward and instill the goals, the objectives, the vision that we have for the program moving forward, and bringing in players and being impactful with the players that we currently have, and being ready to hopefully make a difference. So that's what we're excited about, and that's wakes you up every morning ready to take a step forward. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that a lot of the colleges in the Midwest, when it comes to women's soccer, they do not spare $80. So I can definitely
Yeah.
attest to that. And it looks like you're right. So happy wife to be back home, happy coach
Mhm.
that takes it into the field, happy coach. So it looks like
Yeah.
the perfect combination for a great season.
Yeah, it's hopefully that's the plan. But
Yeah,
it's exciting because I said I spent 6 years in the Midwest
yeah,
in KC, and then I spent a year in Illinois when I was at Illinois State, and the opportunity to come back here and get amongst like contacts I already have, people I already know, clubs I already know, clubs I used to work for. Um, there's a lot of trust there already, so that's really helpful when you're trying to attract players and bring players in. Um, Colleen's connections, Julie's connections, Alyssa's connections. Alyssa's from here, from Manhattan, so she breathes purple, and she knows what it takes to be a Wildcat, and it's really exciting to be amongst those people to help this program move forward. And this program's still very new. It's less than 10 years old.
okay.
It's one of the youngest programs in the NCAA, and so it's going to be exciting to be a part of a program that we're going to do a lot of firsts and a lot of first opportunities. And what player, what coach wouldn't want to be a part of a program that are going to be part of the first to hopefully reach an NCAA tournament, to reach a Big 12, to go further in the Big 12, to go higher within the rankings, etc. Like to be a part of the first to do that is going to be super exciting. So that's what we're working towards right now.
Yeah, no one can beat the first, and they can never take that away from you, anyways, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So one last thing for K
Mhm.
State. So for the fans that so without saying too much of your secrets or anything, but what should they expect in the on the field, the girls, and what kind of play to see on the field for this season?
I think you're going to be ready to expect a very much Midwest style of soccer in terms of you're going to have players that are going to work their butts off. You're going to have players who understand the expectations and the standards of what we want and what we want to achieve. And you're going to watch players play good soccer and want to score great goals and want to keep clean sheets and want to make great saves. And all of these pieces, it's going to be an exciting time for K-State soccer. And already this spring, we've had a couple of games and the community support's been phenomenal. We've had a couple of hundred people out to spring games,
Nice.
which has been amazing. And the community is buying into the vision and buying into what we want to do. And there's a lot of fantastic local organizations who also want to come and support the program. And that's really exciting. So I think there's going to be more of the same going into the fall season and an opportunity to work really hard, showcase some really good soccer, have some really good big moments, and hopefully have a couple of firsts here at Abuser Family Park for the first time. And that's just going to be exciting. And then again, ultimately, players who are going to work really, really, really hard to want to impact the program and leave a legacy behind.
Awesome, awesome. So yes,
Mhm.
so I guess to kind of shift it to more easier questions, we'll call them and all that. So I don't have to ask you who's your favorite soccer player or your
Right.
favorite soccer team, but so would you also say so? I guess England is your national team as well.
Yeah, England's
So
my
yeah,
national team.
any second
Yeah.
team
No,
that you close tie to?
yeah, I'm English. I'm English Pakistani, and but I'm English, and um, no secondary
Through
team,
and
no other
through.
team. Naturally, there's teams I like to watch. I enjoy watching France. I enjoy watching Spain. I enjoy watching Canada, Mexico, the US. I enjoy watching Nigeria. I enjoy watching. I've watched Senegal a few times and the other teams.
Nice.
There's some really really good football. So there's always enjoyment there. But um, where does the passion really come out? It's always watching England, and whether that's in a good way or in a disappointing way, that is what it is. But yeah, England fan and yeah, so always pumped to watch England play, whether it's the women's team or the men's team. It's always fun to watch.
All right, so I guess the first questions. So World Cup 2026 is here.
Yep, yep.
So what are your expectations for England, and
My
what is the bare minimum?
expectations, my expectations are always that we're going to win the
Oh,
World Cup,
yes,
and we've got close a couple of times. It just hasn't pulled off, right? For a little while now. So my expectation going into the next one is with the team that we currently have and the young players that we have and the continued consistent development of English national team players, I think again is going to be a push to we should go into the tournament with the mentality that we're going to win the tournament because I think that's the best way of going into it.
yep.
Um, I don't have a bare minimum because my expectation is that I want them to win the World Cup. So um, that's all I can ask for. So obviously with the World Cup coming here to the US, the plan is to hopefully catch a game.
No.
Working on that right now to try and see make that work. Um, I've never got to go to a World Cup game in person, so the opportunity to do that would be a life goal. So hopefully that will come off and get to a game close by.
Oh yes, attending a game is life changing.
Yeah,
It
for sure.
my last one was in '98, so I'm due for one. So
Yeah.
Luckily, we're in the right country, or I guess country and neighboring countries
Yeah.
to attend. Um,
Absolutely.
so I think so. Do you, and I think the second question is, are you aware of what currently happening now for the high school Champions League?
I've heard about it a little bit, but obviously I saw it when you put it in the agenda. But no, if you want to expand on it, that'd be great.
So yeah, so there's a movement now, because as you know, since you've been involved in club soccer, is others too. So they're starting to see where there's a group of like St. Louis legend and coaches, and even U.S. men national team,
Hmm.
that they saw that kind of the high school space started to kind of be a little bit ignored. So their goal was that they pretty much following the Champions League in Europe, where they're
Hmm.
taking all of the best, the high school that have won their classes, they're adding to a pool. And then after that, those that also maybe have not made the tournaments, but based on their merit, will then add it to those group two. And then they have a
Hmm.
bracket to see who's the best high school is in there around them. So
Oh
they
wow.
started in Tampa first.
Hmm.
So Tampa actually their final they're playing at AR Lang where the Tampa Rowdies.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where they do their finals. St. Louis started last year with the boys. The boys I think of Saint Dominic that started where Team Rim
Hmm.
actually
Hmm.
went to high school too, and
Right.
Sargent. Those two guys
Hmm.
actually went to Saint Dominic. They won it last year. One of those excitement is that that final of those boys, it played at a Crivco Park here,
Oh,
and it was
nice.
so stacked that actually there was people around the fence that were watching the game
Oh
because
wow,
the
that's
stands
awesome.
were full. So
Yeah.
their goal is to kind of bring that knowledge and bring it across the country so that um, everybody has the opportunity to play soccer and to be seen. Just like you having
Yeah.
Manchester United in your backyard and having a coach that give you the glove to say here what's possible. So
Yeah.
that is the goal that they're also doing. So every time I try to do interviews, I bring that up for the
No, that's
grassroots
fantastic. Yeah,
for
I'll,
the
I'll definitely look into it more, especially if they start doing it on the girl side.
they are. St.
Um,
Louis actually the girls
yeah.
are doing it now as we speak. Some
Oh,
of them
fantastic.
qualified to the semifinal. So I try
Yeah.
to when I have those interviews with people that have their touch on soccer across the
Hmm.
US, I kind of let them know because the more opportunity people have, the more people have on eyes. That's how
Hmm.
you build the
No, for
you know
sure. No,
the
that's
environment.
awesome. Yeah, I'll look into it more for sure.
Yep.
Um, Especially if you're going to say there's always really good soccer in St. Louis. There's always really good soccer, obviously in Kansas City as well, and in Colombia in between. And yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely have to look into it more to see if we can catch a game.
Yes, NKC is next too. They are in
Oh,
talks, so
fantastic.
you will have that very close to you very
Oh, there we
soon.
go.
So,
That's awesome. That's great.
yes, yes. So that's pretty
Fantastic.
much the plug for what I guess the grassroots soccer is
Yeah,
always.
yeah, yeah.
And I think the second part here is, do you follow MLS much? I would say that Sporting KC is probably your if you were.
Yeah,
Or,
so my first Sporting KC game was in 2012, back when it was called Livestrong Stadium.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm trying to remember who they played right now. It was a long time
It
ago.
was,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I have a Sporting KC jersey, and um I am if I follow a team in the MLS, it is Sporting KC.
Okay, yeah.
I think within the USL, Phoenix Rising, the team I
Oh
follow.
yes,
Um the obviously the team I got to be around, and actually fortunate enough they invited me out to training a couple of times when I was on the state to go and watch training, and got to know the staff and the people and the players, and um some really good people there too. So it's kind of they're the two kind of clubs, and then within the NWSL,
yep,
obviously Casey Current.
yes.
Um, I'm fortunate enough. I know some of the staff. I know Vladko, and it's obviously they've had a phenomenal time in building up that program as they've come back to Kansas City. So yeah, those kind of three of the American teams that I would follow.
Yes, I definitely have to attend one of those KC Current.
Hmm.
And the fun fact,
Oh, the stadium's amazing.
I went to Kansas.
Yeah.
I went to high school for 2 years in Kansas City,
Oh,
North
okay.
Kansas City. So it's literally
Hmm.
what 5-10 minutes from where I
Yeah.
went to high school at. So I
Yeah.
I have to go back and
Yeah, for
watch every
me,
time.
we were there last year for the Big 12 tournament. It was
Yes,
hosted at Casey Cunt Stadium, and for me, it was probably the most well designed, thought out stadium that I think I've ever been to, and I've been to a
Nice.
fair few.
Yeah.
Um, it was such a well designed and well thought out stadium, and such a beautiful stadium. It was really cool to be actually, we got to at ASU, we got to play there, and it was just really cool. I mean, the atmosphere, and as I haven't had a chance to get to a case of current game yet, which I'm hoping soon in a couple of months. But it's a phenomenal setup, and it was really cool to be a part of that, and to get to go there. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Awesome. So yeah, and so
Mhm.
since you have your hand also on, kind of build the next great players to play for the women's national team or others. How exciting are you, to see how, you're working with those girls now at K State, how the NWSL is doing so great with players, and also
Mhm.
the national team is pretty much next level. How's exciting is it for you to kind of work with those young ladies and kind of
Yeah,
help
it's
them reach their level?
no, it's super exciting, and I've been fortunate that my career is I've been able to work in small parts with different players that have ended up representing their countries, and it's always it's the biggest honor you can have as a player to represent your country, and to be a small part of those journeys when those players have got their first call up, got their second, fifth, tenth, whatever call up, is always super exciting. And then obviously for the players that end up signing their first pro contract, and signing subsequent contracts after that, it's always super exciting um, to be a part of those journeys, but also to have players lean on you for advice, reach out even when they're still while they're playing pro, to reach out for advice and questions and thoughts, and to follow and support those players is always super exciting. And yeah, it's exciting to hopefully over the next couple of years that we're gonna continue to produce players that go into the next level, and that's a byproduct of doing well as a college team, and that's going to be the continued goal, to continue to do well as a college team, and then the byproduct of that is going to be players get noticed, and then players get called up, and then players get opportunities, and players get scouted, and we'll continue to push for that as every coach should. Is just how can you provide and continue to provide opportunities for your players, at whatever level that is. So that's it's just exciting, super exciting.
Awesome. So yeah, so two more questions. So the
Yeah.
one of them is so what still feel unreal about you? There's always that one moment that's like, oh, this is what I'm doing for a job and working on the daily basis. Is there one thing that you still like wow, this is what how it's like?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, honestly, for me, like every time, and this is gonna sound very cliche, but like I'm fortunate enough that like I get to put on my cleats nearly every day and go out on the field, set up a session, and then coach. And I'm always grateful for that, whatever environment that is in. But one moment that sticks in my brain very vividly was I was fortunate enough for the second time able to present at the National Coaching Convention. I presented this year in Chicago, the year before in Anaheim, and it was a pretty surreal moment. To I was the first presenter on the Thursday morning, um, and doing a session on handling and footwork, and how to make handling and footwork sessions effective within a limited time. So um, when I put the mic on and like looked around and saw how many people were there just to like watch my session, that was a super surreal moment because I was like, and I by no means am I saying that what I'm doing is right. I just don't my opinion and the way I do things and the way I built up things. But it was really cool to stand on the field in Chicago, and have so many people sat in the stands, kind of ready to watch what you're going to do, and then post that, have so many people want to ask questions and say thank you, and as I've been in those situations, we've got to watch great coaches, good coaches, awesome coaches do their thing, and then be able to pick their brains. Um, it was really cool to be on the other side of that again, and the same reason why I share my coaching sessions, videos of my coaching sessions online. I have done for the last 4 or 5 years. Um, and mainly it's to start conversations, have conversations, talk about goalkeeping, talk about what goalkeeping can look like in different ways and with different perspectives and um, different outcomes. And it's kind of sparked this community of um, people that share things with each other. And I'm very fortunate. Like I've got text chains with USL coaches, MLS coaches, college coaches, national team coaches, just going back and forth about sessions and training sessions and thoughts and ideas, and that's really cool. So all of those things encompassing with like is really cool, and I'm very fortunate. I've got a very supporting wife and an amazing wife who's a nurse and um, who is my biggest cheerleader and also helps me. You know, everyone gets a little bit nervous before you go and do something. I remember right before I did that presentation, I called her and I was like, "Hey, so this is kind of like this is wild."
Yes.
Um, with the amount of people that were sitting down to watch, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, this is going to be." I got to make sure I don't say and I've got to make sure I don't accidentally say something I don't want to say. And I've got to remember I'm mic'd up the whole time, and I talk to myself when I coach just to get my thoughts out, and can't do that when I'm mic'd up. And she calmed me down, and she was like, everything will be great. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it'll be great. And I also had some really good friends. A good friend, Lewis Liberter, who's the director of goalkeeping at King's Hammer. Um, and he's phenomenal. We've got to work together a few times on coaching courses, and he was there, like working through my session plan. He was like, "Yeah, this looks great. This looks great. What do you think about this?" And he was awesome too. He helped me out a ton. So it was great. That moment will live in my brain for a long time. It was a really cool moment.
Yes, in that convention,
Uh,
there's the who's there. So you're pretty much seeing
yeah,
legends from the times till now. So it
yeah, it was
I'm sure
awesome.
it's
And then
nerve wracking.
yeah, it was nerve-wracking, and there was obviously the US national team staff were all there too, so they were doing
Oh
sessions,
yes.
and it was really cool to US soccer get more integrated with the night soccer coaches, and um, I got to see a bunch of friends and people and networking, and got to connect with mentors, people I speak to all the time. Another person that I always um, chat with and reach out to whenever I have some question in my head is Lisa Cole. Lisa's um, involved in the US national team now, and she's also heads up she just headed up the U23 camp in the national team. She's a brilliant coach, and unfortunately a mentor of mine and someone who I've been able to lean on, and she was doing what Lisa always does, like comes in, tells you what you need to know, and then boom, she's gone. And then and she's phenomenal. So she was really, and she's mentored me as long with Helter, mentored thousands of other goalkeeper coaches. And she's great. So it's really cool to see her on the national stage that she deserves to be on, and working with Emma Hayes day in day out. And so getting to be around those people is inspiring. It's makes you want to work harder, and just it's very inspiring. It just always is, which is awesome.
I'm still kicking myself
Yeah.
for not going there. Even though Chicago is down the
Hey,
street.
the
But
next one's in Philadelphia next year.
yes.
So
So the
Philly's a
planning
great
starts.
town, and yeah, and it's I mean, I think I'll plan to be there again, whether I'm presenting or not, and but it'll be really cool. So it's really cool to um be able to share knowledge, talk to people, network, and get people's opinions and thoughts and things, and see all the new gizmos that the soccer world is bringing out. And yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm sure it'll be good to see you there.
Yes. So yeah, so pretty much soccer, even though it's a global sport, it's a small community.
Yeah,
That's what I always tell
for sure.
people. So the hardest question you probably will be asked now is Ronaldo or Messi?
Oh, okay. I always give people my 2 cents on this, right?
Okay.
So um, I have a different I have a different perspective on Ronaldo
Okay.
always, because I got to watch him grow as a player from when he went from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United. Um, I got to watch him train live in front of me, so I know what he's about. I got to watch him do stuff after training, um, before training, the thousands of free kicks he's taken. Um, my perspective will always be different with Ronaldo because um, I've got to see the ins and outs of what he's done.
Right.
Messi is Messi.
Yeah,
Like he continues to be, in my opinion, one of the most complete players in the game, and someone who um, continues to continues to show people that opportunities come up, like not opportunities, but like he takes everything that he has in front of him and just deals and does it, and he's achieved so much, and he will be revered as such. Um, but even watching him in the MLS now, it's like
he's right there.
it's just the world slows down um, when he's got the ball at his feet. So it's incredible, right? And then Ronaldo, like I was behind the goal. I remember when Ronaldo scored his goal against Portsmouth, one of his first iconic free kicks. I was behind the goal in that game. So to watch a ball just do what it did, like if anything, made it more like wow, like I want to be able to hit a ball like that. I want to be able to make the ball do what that just happened in front of me. So um perspective. And there's also other great players that I like revere at a similar level, but those two, I think like a lot of people continuously and might be a bit biased, just enjoy them both while they're here, and that's that. And
Yeah,
you know,
we won't. Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna take a while before we get that comparison between
yeah,
a players for a very long time. So yeah, so I think yeah, Manchester United, you've seen them, and I think you pretty much confirm what I always tell people is that Messi has the God given talent, and Ronaldo has the outworked you talent. That's why he is where he is, and
yeah.
it's
And I think that's not to take away from Messi. That like Messi's worked incredibly hard
yeah.
to what, and so has Ronaldo, and um obviously
I
they're
think you
different
see maybe like
yeah.
Ronaldo, you could see probably had to work a little on what he's well known as. You know,
Yeah,
where Messi's like dribbling is like you don't know what he's going to do next. It's just
yeah.
happens. But
But on the same note, how many kids and players do you know? As a kid, I remember when if I did a scissor or a step over, I would say Ronaldo's name. Because like that's how and I think there's a way of looking at like iconicness.
yeah,
And for me as a kid and as a fan and as a player, if I ever did a scissor or ever did a step over, that's the only name that comes in your brain. That's the only one because it connects to that movement. Versus you watch someone dribble intricately through players, Messi is the name that like iconicizes in your head, like it connects in your brain, and like and guarantee if anyone says an example about any of these, like, and that's the thing that I think that's how you can define greatness at times, is that if the fundamentals of the game of soccer get connected to your name as like the most instantaneous thing that it connects to, then I think you've made it, like, as a player, like,
yeah,
and you know what I mean? Like, if anyone takes a free kick, how many kids you know stand the way Ronaldo stands when they take a free kick?
almost 99%
Yeah, only
of us.
90%, right? Like nearly everybody. So I think that's iconicness and that's greatness. And then um, how many times you watch a player dribble through two or three players and score a goal, and like, everyone's just screaming Messi because
Yep.
like that's what Messi does. So I think that is some in my opinion, in my head, that's like what greatness can be defined as, because you have made a an impact on the game that probably no one will ever make again. The
Yeah.
same way Johan Cruyff did when everyone relates to Cruyff's turn.
Yes,
Like,
and the
you
Dutch
know,
play.
it's another
Yes.
reason why he was great, and the same reason why back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, like George Best was as good as he was, and um, Bobby Charlton and all these other players as well, and Diego Maradona and all these other players. That their names were revered across the sport because it was just connection. So um, that's just really cool. So
Nice.
it's the same as, you know, you go to a point where um, Tim Howard was making penalty saves and making saves in general in the World Cup. Um, like kids were wearing Tim Howard jerseys, and
Yep.
same with when Hope Solo was doing the same thing, and same with all these other goalkeepers as well. Like you relate those moments to those goalkeepers. The second every goalkeeper started playing with their playing, like not when they started, but when people started thinking this, they noticed that goalkeepers play with their feet and they play a high line. Everybody relates that to Manuel Neuer.
Yep.
Like that's Manuel Neuer. So it's iconicness, its greatness is related to making an impact on your game that way is amazing to see in person.
Yeah, and my
So yeah,
greatest all-time goalkeeper is Fabien Barthez with
yeah,
France and the national
yeah,
team. He's the definition of what I see on the goalkeeper is that you guys have like no fear in God. So if there's a ball or a foot close to your face, you will still go get it.
yeah.
Many of us will not do it. So
Right.
goalkeeper, I always give you guys praises and 100% of my respect because not many of us will do that. And you're the
Yeah.
last line of defense before the ball goes beyond
I
that
always
line.
also relate that to Oliver Kahn, who was a German national team
Yes,
goalkeeper, and
he's
um,
the general.
yeah, yeah, and I always relate the fact. I tell my goalkeepers all the time, I'd rather you get told to shut up than speak up. As a communicator, like you should, someone should be telling you to shut up because you're speaking so much. You don't shut up, but someone should be telling you to. And Oliver Kahn comes to my brain whenever that moment happens because like that's what he was known for. He said something, you did it no matter what.
Yep.
Tim Howard was very similar. Like Tim Howard told you to do something, you did it. So again, the way players have impacted the game and impacted connecting their name to iconic and fundamental moments within the game is super cool. So
Awesome.
it's hopefully more players connect to the game in that way and leave their imprint on the game that way.
Awesome. Thank you. So, any final words?
No, obviously, if there's obviously coaches watching, like, and coaches who people want to get into coaching, like, it's a grind. You've got to really enjoy it, and um, you've got to give your players what they deserve, which has been prepared and been transparent and been honest and building lifelong relationships, and that matters. I'm fortunate enough; I've built so many with so many players who I still talk to after 10 years of coaching them, or 10 years ago when I coached them. So I think never forget the impact you leave on others, because it can be life remembering, if you can do it the right way. So we need more people to be coaching and doing it in a way that's going to leave impact on other people. So
Yeah, excellent. So yes, and I think that's why I started to do a little bit more of like the as an interview with coaches as well, because
hmm
those are typically coaches is who we almost remember more than even our teachers and others. Um,
hmm
and coach for me, no matter who it is, if you hear me talk to a former coach or something, coach comes before, and then their first name
hmm
is. So
right.
always remember and they not only teach us from on the pitch but also life lessons. So
Yeah,
up
absolutely.
down perfect, great times and bad times, they're always there.
hmm
And I think I almost talked to all my coaches all the way to I think U15, and we're talking in the US and in France. So you guys
Okay,
always
awesome.
get many of my respect. Even if I don't know you and you're a coach, you get coach first from me.
I
So
appreciate it.
that's how it goes. So I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate your time, Coach Ali. Good luck with this season. Maybe if you happen to play St. Louis University, maybe I might not see too much luck, but it will be hopefully a good game will
Yeah,
come out of
I
that.
don't believe we play. Yeah, we don't play SLU this year. I
Maybe in
don't
the
think it's on the
finals,
schedule
somewhere
yet.
in the finals.
Yeah, maybe. But no, again, I appreciate it. So, thanks for taking the time just to have a chat. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Yes. So for those of you, make sure that you go and check K State if you're close or if they come around. Support all the Midwest team, no matter who you're
hmm
playing against. That's how I see it. Hope you have a good day. Stay warm, or I think it should be warm now. So thank you
Hopefully.
for your time and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.